Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me. I hope everybody is well. What I wanted to do with this particular stream or this particular video, depending on how you're watching it, is to give you an update on some of the developments that have happened today between myself and Thanet District Council, just to give you a bit of an overview in case you don't know what's going on. I'm the owner of a local private hire taxi firm within my area, one of many. And our local council, Thanet District Council, has decided to instigate what they call a new private hire and hackney carriage policy to govern things like how we conduct ourselves, how we behave, and also, which is the biggest sticking point of all, the age of the vehicles which we drive. Now, this is something that they wanted to do before the old sniffy whatsy come in. I'm not going to mention the word just in case the censors jump on me. And it got put on the back burner when we were in that situation, never to be heard from again until fairly recently. Now, what's actually happened, there has been some meetings and bits and pieces like that on the back end of last year. There's been an apparent consultation, and this new policy goes live or has gone live from the 1st of January. Now, what consequence does that have? If I was to turn up as a new taxi driver and wanted to, come on and be a taxi driver, my vehicle that I present could not be older than 7 years old. That has to be the absolute maximum. And then when you come on and when you drive, that 7-year-old car cannot be run for any longer than 10 years. So effectively, you only get 3 years use out of it. If you're a hybrid car, that means 12 years. If you're an electric car or if you're a wheelchair accessible car, the sky's the limit. So that straight away tells me that they're trying to maneuver and manipulate things around to suit the environmental aspect, for one thing. And also there's very big talk about the amalgamation of different councils into bigger councils, and they have to have a uniform policy throughout. Now, one of the big things in my area is this age thing to do with cabs has been going on for far too long, many years. I've been doing this job 15 years, and it's always been the same in my area. Now, what the thing is, if you suddenly have an age restriction in place, even with what they call a transition period for existing drivers like me, which is 2 years, you will end up in a position where everybody's financial planning is out the window. The cost of the vehicle to replace for the equivalent of what you did have, the fares that we charge in this area are probably some of the lowest in the country. You add all of that up, and the long hours that drivers are doing already, it's a recipe for disaster. Now, where the crux of this live stream comes in is the fact, did they do any form of impact assessment? Did they work out what impact this would have on the area, what impact this would have on the trade, the customers, particular groups? It's something very important. And they wouldn't tell me, just by asking. So what I did, I put in a freedom of information request to the local council asking the questions. What I wanted to share with you is that freedom of information request and also the response I got from them today, which is very telling indeed. So without further ado, I'm going to bring this up. And this is what we've got from the council. Now, I use a service called What Do They Know for my freedom of information requests. It's very good. You can literally find any authority or any company you like and, use it to FOI them, Freedom of Information request. So you can see here, Freedom of Information Act 2000, request vehicle age policy impact assessment and related documents. So what I've read out to them or what I've sent to them is this. Dear Thanet Council, I'm making a request under the Freedom of Information Act 2000. My name is Andrew Gifford. I am directly and substantially affected by the proposed private hire vehicle age limit policy, maximum 7 years for new licenses, maximum 10 years for operation on existing licenses. Please disclose the following recorded information held by Thanet Council as of today's date. So straight away, I've said that I am directly affected by this, and I've asked the questions, which are as follows. The full impact assessment, equalities, economic, environmental, or otherwise, carried out in relation to the introduction of the new vehicle age limit policy for private hire vehicles, including any draft versions and appendices. Any risk assessment, cost-benefit analysis, or regulatory impact note prepared in connection with this policy change. All correspondence, that's all correspondence, emails, reports, briefing notes, or minutes, including officer reports to committee that refer to or quantify the anticipated number of percentage of licensed private hire vehicles that will become unlicensable as a result of the policy. Number or percentage of licensed drivers likely to surrender their licenses. Projected reduction in wheelchair accessible vehicles. Projected increase in fares. Projected net effect on CO2 / NOx emissions, taking into account any modal shift back to private cars. Projected loss of school contract / airport / tourism related work. Any equality impact assessment carried out under Section 149 of the Equality Act 2010 in respect to the policy. Copies of any correspondence between Thanet District Council, the Department for Transport, Kent County Council, or neighbouring licensing authorities specifically referring to regional alignment or harmonisation of vehicle age limits. The final approved version of the new private hire vehicle specification policy that will be presented to full council or cabinet for adoption, and the exact date on which this decision to implement the age limits was taken, so that judicial review time limit can be accurately calculated. If any of the above information does not exist, please confirm that in writing. I look forward to receiving the information within the statutory 20 days. So that's, first and foremost what I've done here. I've asked them for the information, all of the relevant information to do with, the impact assessment, what impact this is going to have on the trade, what impact this is going to have on, Joe Public, so to speak. And these are all relevant things I've asked. Well, here is the response. Let's see what you think of this. Let's pull this up. Okay, dear Mr. Gifford, thank you for your information request dated the 4th of December 2025. I can confirm that we have received your request and are now processing your reply. So at that point, they're basically saying they've received my request and they're going to be dealing with it. So that's that there. This is the great thing about what do they know? It gives you everything. On the 5th of January, I submitted a little reminder. I said, Dear Freedom of Information Officer, I submitted a request on the 4th of December, reference seeking impact assessments and related documents for the adopted policy. As the 20 working day deadline approaches, around 8th to 9th of January, please provide an update when I can expect a response. And lo and behold, here's the response the following day after I sent it. Now, there's an attachment here, which I will try and open up because I think that's important we see that as well. Yep, that's it. So I'll share that in a minute. So we got, Dear Mr. Gifford, Thank you. This information is freely available, by the way. You can find it all on What Do They Know? So let's have a look. So thank you for your Freedom of Information request date, the 4th of December. The response to your request is set out below in the attached document. Our response: we confirm that we hold some of the information that you have requested. The full impact assessment, equalities, economic, environmental, or otherwise, carried out in relation to the introduction of the new vehicle age limit policy for private hire vehicles, including any draft versions. Now, that is what I have asked for. The full impact assessment. Look what they've said. We do not hold a full impact assessment for equalities. Boom. All information is in the reports that went to a number of committees. The information can be found here for each committee meeting. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull up these documents. I'm going to show you exactly what's going on. So share this tab instead. This is one of the links. Now, this is just a scattering of documents, and I've been through and read most of these already. I'm not going to bore you with them because, you know, it basically says, you know, you've got the Hackney Carriage private hire licensing policy there, and it's all about, you know, all the relevant bits and pieces for what they're proposing, and also something about current conditions. So this is all related to the new policy. There's no impact assessment forthcoming in there of any kind. It's literally just a pile of statistics, which tells me absolutely nothing. So it's very, very telling. And if there is any local driver watching this, you need to be well aware of what's going on. We have all, you know, we could all get big trouble with our businesses because of this. The next one of those links. I'll just share this out. Bear with me. This is the draft policy. And this is literally 7 pages of what they propose for the new policy. Again, there's no impact assessment, just statements and what they're going to do. Absolutely no impact assessment whatsoever. And we're talking people's livelihoods here. So far, it ain't looking very good, is it? And I haven't even started. So what's the next bit? What's the next bit? Let's have a look. Okay, so we'll share this screen here again. Sorry, I've got a few things going on in the background. I want to make sure you get all of this. So number 2, any risk assessment, cost-benefit analysis, or regulatory impact note prepared in connection with this policy. Answer: we do not hold this information. So not only are they confirming they don't have a full impact assessment for equalities, economic, environmental, or otherwise, risk assessment, cost-benefit analysis, and, you know, regulatory impact note don't hold this information. All correspondence, emails, reports, briefing notes, or minutes, including officer reports to committee that refer to or quantify the anticipated all information is in the reports CQ1, number of percentage of licensed private hire vehicles that will become unlicensable as a result. All information in the reports CQ1, and then you've got Annex 21 there. Now, all that is, folks, is a table of the private hire vehicles and hackney carriages that we have in place already in this area. And really, it's just showing the age limits, what, the ages of them. So you can see what will become unlicensable. And there's a lot. There really is a lot. Let's move on. Let's make this bigger again. Okay, number or percentage of licensed vehicles likely to surrender their licenses. So what you have is a situation where drivers aren't going to be able to do the job anymore as a result of this. And you need to know how many drivers are going to be out of a job, aren't going to be able to do it. They're just going to hold their hands up and say, I've had enough of this. What do we have? We do not hold this information. Really? Projected reduction in wheelchair accessible vehicles. We do not hold this information as this is not relevant, as they are not subject to age restrictions. Do you know how many drivers of minibuses are currently considering converting them to wheelchair access vehicles? These minibuses that you're trying to force off the road with an age limit, they will circumvent it by converting them to wheelchair vehicles. Kind of defeats the object, doesn't it? Just wondering that you might want to know that, as people that need wheelchair access vehicles are a protected group who should be prioritised. And what about the ones that have got wheelchair access vehicles already that think, not worth it? Projected increase in fares. At the end of the day, if the fares go up, it will be because they have to support the cost of the new vehicles. It don't make catching a cab in an already deprived area very effective, very attractive. And guess what? We do not hold this information. The council has no control over private hire fares. Now, in their defence, that's true. I set my own prices as long as the customer agrees to pay them. End of story. However, hackney carriage fares are set every other year by licensing board following consultation with the trade, and is due this year. So I'd be interested if any hackney drivers are watching this, how much they go up by, because they'll need to. Projected net effect on CO2 NOx emissions, taking into account any modal shift back to private cars. So what you've got to consider is, if the cabs become too expensive, or you get another situation where you have you have this situation where there's not the cabs on the road because they've jacked it in, people are going to start using their own cars again, and it's going to cause a problem. And look here. The council does not hold any recorded information containing projections of the net effect on CO2 or NOx emissions arising from the policy change. So one of the main issues, one of the main areas that they were quoting, they were preaching, was improving the environment. And by their own admission, they do not hold any recorded information about projections to do with CO2 and NOx levels. We typically explain the rationale Euro standards in terms of national, regional modelling or guidance. Projected loss of school contract, airport or tourism related work, all vitally important. All of the vehicles in this area which carry out that work, mine included, are licensed by Thanet Council. And what do we have? We do not hold this information. Are you seeing a trend here? Any equality impact assessment carried out under Section 149 of the Equality Act 2010 in respect to the policy, it was determined at the time there were no implications as per this document here. We have completed the Equalities Act screening that is attached that determines this. So there is an attachment to this FOI request, and it's laughable. I will be showing you it very shortly. Again, all of this is in the public domain. Copies of any correspondence between TDC, the Department for Transport, Kent County Council, or neighbouring licensing authorities, specifically referring to regional alignment or harmonisation of vehicle age limits. And this is very telling. We do not hold this information. Now, one of the things they proudly told me and told others is that they want to be the same as the others, and they prided themselves on cooperating with the others around the area, and very much gave the implication that, you know, they were talking. Apparently they haven't. This isn't looking very good for Thanet Council, is it? Not very good at all. Let's have another look at the last one. The final approved version of the new private hire vehicle specification policy that will be presented to full council or cabinet for adoption, and the exact date on which the final decision to implement the age limits was taken. The new policy went to council committee in December and was agreed and came into effect on the 1st of January. So this policy, in other words, is now live. So as you can see, that actual FOI request was very telling, because all of the relevant information that pertains to any impact assessment, which they should have done, they're telling me they don't have the information. So businesses like mine, taxi drivers who rely on their cars to feed their families, other taxi firms who need the cab drivers to do their work so they can make money and feed their families, we're all to believe that we're having to obey a new policy which is detrimental to our survival, and no impact assessment has been carried out. What do you make of that? I know what I make of it. Let's have a look at this attachment. This is what they sent. So this is an equality impact assessment labelled Test for Relevance. And it's gone person responsible for this assessment, the technical support manager. Description of strategy, policy, service, project, activity or decision. Hackney carriage, private hire, licensing policy. And they're saying it is a new policy. The Department for Transport Best Practice Guidance recommends that local authorities have a policy in place. The primary purpose of the policy is to set out how the authority will deal with applications for private hire and hackney carriage driver vehicle and operator license. Provide a safe transport. We're already licensed, MOT twice a year, 3 if you include the MOT that we have to have anyway, visually inspected. Ensure all drivers and operators are fit and proper to hold a license. You've seen the amount of tests that we have to do. DBS, annual license renewals. Ensure all vehicles and licensees are safe and clean. Visual inspection, I already mentioned. To promote equality, diversity, and inclusion. Well, all you will promote with this policy is exclusion. The aims are consistent with the general duties under the Equalities Act to eliminate unlawful discrimination, harassment, victimisation, advance equality of opportunity, and to foster good relations. Not doing good so far, are you? The policy sets out how the council and its function as the licensing authority will discharge its responsibilities in the licensing of drivers, vehicles and operators. Now, bear in mind, I've just shown you there's no impact assessment, so how do they know what they're doing? The policy will be of interest to businesses and individuals who hold or are seeking to hold a license, residents, named responsible authorities, related council departments and elected members. According to your own FOI request, you've not spoken to anybody. Who is affected? Service users, license holders, the general public. Does the strategy, policy, service, project, activity or decision relate to a service area with known inequalities? No. The application process to apply for a license is based on the guidance of the Department for Transport. Oh, they've heard from me as well, by the way. And the Institute of Licensing is fair to all. It's not fair to all, this new policy, not in the slightest. How does the strategy, policy, service, project, activity or decision actively meet the public sector equality duties to eliminate unlawful discrimination? No expected negative impact. The process is fair to all and applicants have the right to appeal to a licensing board should they wish. See, no expected negative impact. Advanced equality of opportunity. No expected negative impact. The application process to apply for one of the 5 types of license is the same for everyone and follows all the required guidance. Foster good relations between people who share a protected characteristic. No expected negative impact. There won't be any bloody cabs to impact anything. Priority. The following questions will help you to identify whether this service is a high priority. I would say it's a high priority. Please answer all questions with particular reference to the protected characteristics, race, gender assignment, blah, 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 blah. Are there any particular groups who may have trouble accessing the service? No. Really? Help is already given to anyone who requests it, including the completion of forms, understanding the legislation, etc. Correspondence is available in alternative formats. Does your information suggest that some groups of people are less satisfied than others with the service? No. Comments were received during the consultation period, mainly from current drivers and operators. These comments have been taken into consideration. A number of changes have been made to the policy. Well, I can tell you now, being one of the people that commented in that consultation, many negative comments. Many negative comments. Many on vehicle ages also. They've not been taken into consideration. Will this service have a significant impact on any of our residents? No, it should provide a better service. How do you know? You've not carried out an impact assessment. Do you have any evidence that discrimination, harassment, and/or victimization could occur as part of the service? No. All applications are dealt with on their own merits. Do you think the service will hinder communication and negatively impact relations between the organisation and its employees, residents, contractors, blah, blah, blah? No. All applications are dealt with on their own merits. The opportunity to obtain a licence is open to all, regardless of their protected characteristics. Does this service need to improve the way in which it is communicated to people who have literacy, numeracy, or any other access needs? No. Help is already given to anyone who requests it in the completion of forms, understanding the legislation, etc. Oh. Does consultation need to be carried out? No, because it's already been carried out. Really? In order to assess the priority of your service, this is a good one here, please complete the table below by adding up how many questions you answered yes to and follow the appropriate action. So you've got high priority, medium priority, and low priority. That's funny. I haven't filled anything in. Ooh. So this isn't a full equality impact assessment. Nothing's been filled in. And the answers to that lot, totally and utterly deluded. So again, I point out, no impact assessment and no full equality assessment either. And we're all expected to abide by a taxi policy that will basically ruin our livelihoods on the back of no impact assessment. Don't know about you, I'm not impressed. If there are any Hackney carriage drivers watching this, if there are any private hire drivers watching this, you need to consider very, very much so your thoughts and feelings on this, because they've not looked into it, they've not consulted on it, they've not researched the impact of these changes on our local environment. And many of you will probably know that the main thing they kept talking about was the amalgamation of all the councils in 2028. As far as I'm concerned, we've got 2 years to put a stop to this. If anybody wants to support that effort, I'm all ears. You know where to find me. There's contact details on the page that you're viewing this on. Thank you for listening. Right, guys, on YouTube, we've got some comments. So let's have a look, see what you've all got to say. Andy, this is a massive can of worms, mate. Also, cover your ass, pal, at all times. Well, I actually got advice as to whether I should do this live at all. But, you know, that information is in the public domain. So I'm not telling you anything you couldn't find yourself. Andy, check buses and school coaches for their age, gather the evidence. Well, one of the things that I know of is you look at London, the age restrictions with TfL, they are a lot less stringent than here. It's a cartel, we're pricing you out. I mean, that's the other thing that springs to mind, Uber. People are talking about Uber. Anything that's local is probably licensed by Thanet Council. They're going to have the same problem. Hello, Ian. Thank you for joining me. Hope you are well. Alan, good to see you. There's Bloodnose, my favourite moderator from America. Hope you're well, my friend. Steve, evening. We've had one of your comments. Who else we got here? Coldy Analytical, 1351. Hi from a Cotswold small holding. Oh, wow. I'll tell you, I haven't been there for years. Not years. I'd love to again. Evening, Alan. Hope you're well. Good to see you. Good evening, June. Good to see you as well. Oh, here's another one. Bristol. I've not been there for years either. Hello. Janet Edwards. Good evening, Andy. Good evening to you. Good to see you. Gay Canda 992, Oklahoma. Wow. So my council woes are going global. Ha! Cheers, Mick. Nice jumper, Andy. It was a Christmas present. I like it. It's quite warm for sitting in my cold garage. What else we got? Policy means nothing. Ian Hollingsworth says, absolutely, especially when it's quite proven that they haven't done their homework. It's a piss poor job. Lucinda, hello. Good to see you. Not seen you in a while. Electric cars don't last that long, even from new, Andy. Absolutely. I mean, the other thing to consider as well is, you know, we spoke about this. There's going to be some other coverage that hopefully will appear. I'll do another live on that when it does. You spend, you know, I've got a minibus, Tornio minibus, 13 grand I paid for it. It's a 12-year-old minibus, well looked after, serviced, MOT'd. If I was to replace that with something that falls in line with their requirements, I've got to, you know, increase the size of my investment by 4 times. So that's quite a chunky loan, say 40 grand. In 2 years, I'd have probably done 250,000 miles, and that will need replacing if it hadn't died beforehand. I'm then left with 3 years of a 5-year loan to pay off, and I'm forever in debt. Don't work. And at the moment, I change my vehicle every 5 years. Simple. How many more will fall into that category? I have an Ioniq 5 from brand new, 130,000 on it. Cool. You know, they'll run if you look after them well. That should be a requirement more than age limits, actually. Jimmy Rants, what I see on the net would seem to indicate that's unusual. Not quite sure what that is. Local council does not care. It's all about money. It's all about that. And I think it's all about the amalgamation of different councils into one super council. That seems to be the bone of contention here. Might take a person many years to pay off a vehicle. Exactly what I was saying, Steve. Exactly what I was saying. You know, you look at some of the new stuff, it's ridiculous money. I mean, the Tornios are great for the job that I do because they've got so much room in them. They really have in terms of luggage and foot space. Fiona, hi from Bristol too. I did a job down at Bristol Airport once, quite a while ago, actually. And that was a good old trek, that was. I stayed in a little B&B near the airport for the return trip the following day. There are loads of Teslas out there with way more than mine on. Yeah. Well, Teslas are all well and good, but I've not seen a Tesla that can put 16 suitcases in the back of it. My minibus can. That's the problem. People seem to hate electric cars, which is good because it makes them cheaper, win-win. Well, yeah, when everyone went through a stage of hating Elon Musk, a friend of mine picked up a Tesla, really cheap. The price is absolutely plummeted. I stay indoors in my house all the time, Fiona says. Bless you. There are many like you that will do that. Andy, I'm releasing a video this Friday, 4 p.m, which blows the whole UK issues wide open. Never been covered before. Friday at 4 p.m. Well, we'll have to look out for that, won't we? If anybody hasn't subscribed to him, there you go. There's the YouTube link there. Give that a crack. That'll be great. No impact assessment. That's right. Absolutely right. No impact assessment. And they quite clearly say that. In fact, several times we do not hold this information. This ain't going to end well. This is wrong. Livelihoods and businesses ruined. My sentiments exactly. My sentiments exactly. Bullshit baffles brains. You're absolutely right there, Alan. Absolutely right. Just got here. Hello, Gabby Cabby. Hello, June. Good to see you. Hope you are well. Gabby, I wish I had your storage brain. What you mean for information? Yeah, I'm very good with letter writing and finding out information and the word of law. And, you know, there's always a law which can influence something in your favor somewhere. It's very good. And a lot of people need to start reading and learning because you get shafted by everybody. So the water companies can dump sewage into the sea and ruin beaches, but you can't drive an older vehicle that's MOT'd and fit for purpose. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I did a thing with the media. I'm not going to say too much about it, but I said to her, and I picked a place specifically. I said, they talk about these cabs ruining the environment or having problems with the environment. And I just calmly put my hand out to one side. Do you know what was there? The sea, the beach. Oh, don't. Have you had a look at the council car park and issued confiscation notices on vehicles over 7 years old? Check the age of stage code. That's quite a fair suggestion, that, isn't it? Absolutely. In fact, I think the oldest vehicle we've got on the fleet from the sheet I read is about 25 years old. I mean, vehicles that old maybe, but then if they're regularly serviced and MOT'd and maintained, what's the problem? They just want to ruin your living. Absolute bell ends, a lot of them. Yeah, absolutely, Jim. You're not wrong. Although I'm being polite and civil because you have to be. Mark William, I cabbed in Essex, gave up in the early 90s because it took nearly a month to earn what I did in a week when I first started. Absolutely. That's a very valid point, actually, and this has to go on record. HMRC anticipate that you will lose 50% of your earnings as a cab driver in vehicle expenses. Fact. Before you start earning any money. Drivers are working 60 plus hours a week as it is. You do this to them, that workload will increase, and then you end up living in your cab. This is where accidents happen. And then I read a goddamn impact assessment, FOI, that tells me I haven't even looked into it. It's mad. Absolutely crazy. It's all part of the plan. Serco and others must be interested in being cabby. Now something not right. Palms have been greased here. You'd never prove that. They'd make sure you couldn't. Jeanette Edwards, also, of course, this would apply to the vehicles the council use to transport disabled people, school kids, etc. Every council vehicle that carries the public. Absolutely right, Michael. What we generally have here, all of the vehicles are licensed by the local authorities. I'm Thanet. You've got Dover and Canterbury, you've got other places, but Kent County Council is the one that usually holds all the contracts for the work that you've just said, and we have to put a bid in for those contracts to get them. And if there's a shortage of vehicles because all of this happens, then kids ain't getting to school. It's that simple. That simple. Although their excuses, wheelchair access vehicles are exempt from this policy. So when you get a load of people converting their vehicles, it kind of defeats the object. Finally, I would love to see the cars in their council office car parks. Sadly, they are private vehicles, so they do not come under these regulations. Absolutely. Next one, you can take anybody to court, but it's very costly if you lose. It can easily ruin you. They know that. All they do is use public money to fight you. I wouldn't use a British lawyer. I would not use a British lawyer for certain things. I have an ace in the hole, put it that way. I would continue operating with an MOT pass cab. If they catch me and fine me, it's an operating expense, probably less expensive than buying a new vehicle. It's a good place to finish a story. There's a weird bylaw where if you're a private hire driver like me, you can't have a number plate with the word cab in it. And somebody actually got that at one point, and the council went mad and took them to court over the word cab in a number plate. How expensive do you reckon that was? How much time do you reckon was taken up with that? Meanwhile, no impact assessment on something very, very important. Nuts. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. If you're watching this on X, hello to you all there. Please give me a follow if you haven't done so already. Hit the like button, leave comments, share my stuff, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Toodaloo.